So we just wrapped up the third episode of season 2 of The Last of Us, and this is where I really wished I would have had the time to play through the entirety of the second game before I watched the season because I'm a little vague on some details. So there are some things here that I think I remember happening, but we're going to get into that today. I don't do spoiler free, so if you haven't yet watched the episode, go away, watch it, come back, dive in with me because we're going to talk the whole episode here. Again, no spoiler alert stuff here because I don't do spoiler free. So you've been warned. I'll give you a moment of silence. All right, we're good to go. So this episode is all about the girls setting off to Seattle, and it's bookended by the arrival in Seattle at the end and the leaving at the beginning. Well, sort of like the midway point. And something I could swear I remember from the game is that I could have sworn Joel's brother goes off ahead of them and they end up following in his footsteps and finding like the chaos that he leaves in his wake, which did not happen in the show. And again, they're telling a slightly different version of the story, which I appreciate. So we're getting different things being told in different ways. So the big the I'd say the first 3 quarters of this episode is all about the town dealing with the aftermath of the loss of so many lives. We get a sort of a beginning of the episode, mourning over Joel, and then it goes forward 3 months, and Ellie's in a hospital bed. She's got to get psych clearance to get out, and we see the town in recovery, rebuilding. Um, Ellie has a confrontation with the town shrink, and basically, lies her way past it, but the lady eventually gives her a clean bill of health. It's just realizes that she's just always going to be a liar. And then Ellie wants to go off and um, avenge Joel, and Dina is right there alongside of her. She tells Joel's brother, and Joel's brother is like, "Well, look, we got to bring this to the city council. We got to do this right. Blah 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 blah." And that starts this whole process of having this town meeting and losing the vote to send a posse of 16 people to Seattle to execute them. And I thought it was really interesting the way they did this with the town council, showing, at the very least, when they had the open floor, like the old man who like got all grumpy about them being lesbians at the beginning ends up being like the staunchest supporter of the idea because he's like, we can't, we're just victims right now. Like, they're going to come back and they're going to come back with force. And all of you, I'm just going to laugh when it happens to you guys because you're all just miserable losers. We need to show them that you can't just come in here and take one of ours. Um, so that vote happens, and then this leads to a really interesting discussion between um, Joel's brother and the town psychiatrist, and him basically telling the psychiatrist, like, I just really hope that Ellie's not going to do something stupid. I don't want her following in the same footsteps as Joel, constantly looking for, justification for things and etc. And then the very like next moment is um, Ellie hearing a knock at her door, and she's preparing all these supplies, and it's Dina saying, "Hey, I knew you were going to do this. I'm going to help you. I'm going to go with you. You can't just go with guns. Like, we got to actually get supplies together." Um, so they decide to plan everything together, and they get the help of the old man who helps them get the horse and supplies, and they go off riding out through the woods and towards Seattle to meet up with this Washington Liberation Front and hopefully, execute Abby and her friends. Only there's way more going on than they thought. So this is where, again, I really wish I would have played the game. I'm probably going to need to go read a synopsis of the second game to get caught up with things so I could try to, collect my memories. But in the middle of all this show, we see this scene where we have the The people who have scarred their face and they're on the path and they have the hammers and they have the prophetess. I don't remember much about them at all, other than, if I remember correctly, the siblings that you end up meeting, or that you end up, I can't remember if you play as those siblings, but they like escape. I'm a little vague on the details because it's been so long since I played the second game. They're on the path. They're giving a speech about spirituality, about escaping the war. And then they hear, they get a whistle from a guard in the rear as they're going through the woods, and they're like, "Is it, what is it? Is it raiders or whatever?" They're like, "No, it's worse, wolves," and they all disappear into the bush. That's all you see of those until Ellie and Dina come riding through, and they find the bodies of these people, and they've all been killed. Um, Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload, or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. Shot in the back as they were trying to run. Even the little kid got killed. Like, they've all just been decimated and left dead. And then they sort of ride past that, wondering who could have did this. They're like, could it have been Abby's group? All we know is they mentioned that there were wolves. As viewers, that's all that we know, is that these people said something about wolves, which could be the Liberation Front, considering they used the wolf as a logo. But that almost feels like it's like a red herring, like too easy to put that out there. I don't know. But we do get, the girls are arriving in Seattle, and then we see this scene of this Manny character up in a tall building as a watchout, and he's scanning sectors, and they're like, scan this sector, and he says, yeah, you're all clear, move ahead. And this is when you get the scene of, like, here comes like a tank vehicle, a couple of Hummers, and then a shitload of people wearing like the logos of the WLF and helmets with the logo. And it's a lot. It's way more than these two girls are going to be capable of handling. And um, there's probably 50 to 100 of these people marching on the street. I don't know. It's a lot, and that's like the fade to black of the episode, where we're just still left going, oh crap, they're walking into something big. So I'm genuinely interested to see where they're going, because obviously this is we're doing an adaptation of the game, and they're spreading this out over multiple seasons. So maybe Joel's brother has something more to play in this. I don't know. Maybe they're going to get there and see that it's really bad, and they're going to back out, go get reinforcements. I just don't remember how it went in the game that much. In any case, suspenseful episode. None of the undead this episode, but we get introduced to new factions and whatever's happening in Seattle, and leading up to whatever's going to happen next. So I can't wait. Another great episode. Chris and I walked away satisfied, eager for next week. Let me know in the comments below if you're also enjoying the show. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. As I continue to watch this and other things, we're also watching Star Wars Andor right now, and plus all the gaming, other stuff that happens here on the channel, with daily streams kicking off every single morning at around 5 a.m. Central on YouTube and Twitch. I'll see you all in the next one. Stay safe and don't get bit.